Welcome to Football Analysis. Chelsea welcomed local rivals Fulham to Stamford Bridge with a host of new players to bed in. All eyes were on Potter to see how he'd fit these players into his plans. In a game where Chelsea dominated the ball, but chances were even in a game that finished goalless. Graham Potter instructed his Chelsea players to form a 2-3-2-3 as much as possible in their build-up play, with Enzo Fernandez operating as the pivot in this team. The two fullbacks moved up in line with Fernandez, and this gives the centre-back with the ball two options for a short pass, as Fulham press with a front three. When the defender was drawn to the ball, this opened up a passing channel. There were also times that the centre-back with the ball was not pressed, and in this scenario, Fernandez would drop back to fill the defensive position so that the defender could carry the ball into the midfield line and find a penetrating pass into the front line. The aim of the two attacking midfielders, Mount and Gallagher, was to occupy the central areas and free up space for one of the fullbacks to advance from the line of three into the attacking third. The right was the most effective for Chelsea, with 42% of their attacks coming down this side. When one fullback had advanced successfully, the other one would often join the line, effectively meaning Chelsea now have a 2-5-3. This was because Fulham defended in a mid 4-4-2 block, so in order to get the upper hand in midfield, Chelsea formed a 5-man midfield and found the spaces on the wing. This would often see Willian come back and cover the left back slot, with Fulham often forming a 5-3-2. With the ball out wide, Mount and Gallagher had to move into the front line to provide options for a cross or a forward pass. As we said before, Enzo Fernandez would often drop into the back line to form a 3, and this would see him find space against Fulham's 2-man press, so then find a long pass out wide. The defender usually had a passing option to the pivot or a fullback, but in the cases where they were marked tightly, this would see one of the attacking midfielders, usually Mount, drop back into his own half and occupy a defender. This was the catalyst for Cucurella to advance down the left, taking the right back with him, and this opened up spaces for Mudryk in the first half to move into the half spaces where he could be dangerous, although he didn't have his best game today. Enzo has dropped into the back line to form a 3, and his positioning has pulled Willian towards him. Although James is in his cover shadow, Gallagher gets in front of his marker, and this allows a pass to James, who is now in space on the right because of Fernandez's movement. Chelsea were very narrow in their pressing, and this saw one of Fulham's centre-backs bringing the ball past the first line of defence into the midfield quite easily. Fulham looked to make use of the wide areas by adopting a 2-3-5 in possession. They would often look to bypass the midfield with penetrating balls over the top to the wings, as Chelsea were defending in a 4-2-3-1. At times there were spaces either side of the fullbacks. The fullback would then join the wide player as they tried to form a 2 versus 1 and make space for a cross into the dangerous Mitrovic. This would mean that the Chelsea wide player had to be very alert to this. When Chelsea pressed with 2, the goalkeeper was used to make a 3-3 base in the build-up as the two centre-backs split either side of the press. Fulham were then able to advance the ball down the line as they had created a 3 versus 2. However, they were still relatively deep, so could not find a way beyond Chelsea's backline. Second half changes by Potter. In the second half, Graham Potter made some changes to the positions of players on the left-hand side. He instructed Cucurella to play more as an inverted fullback and operate in the central areas with Fernandez, effectively forming a 2-man pivot when in possession. This pulled Fulham's wide player, Reed, more centrally. He also instructed Mount to play further forward alongside Havertz, as Chelsea formed a 2-man attack. So Mount occupied the other centre-back. This left the newly introduced Madueke one-on-one with the Fulham right-back. This tactic saw a chance fall to Madueke when he was left unmarked. So Chelsea were actively looking to overload the left-hand side and create spaces to get in behind Fulham's back line. When a defender was able to move into midfield, Cucurella took up positions as an attacking fullback as Chelsea created a 3 versus 2. Although this ended in a goalless draw, Potter's men did show signs of progression. Enzo Fernandez can provide a steady base to build attacks on, as well as protect a 2 or 3 centre-backs. He needs someone of real quality to play alongside though. Kovacic might be that player. When all players are fit, chances are that Potter will play a back three.